interpretation. Thank you, Luke. If you're interested in interpretation, click the globe at the bottom there, and then you can choose the language that you want. Carlos, can you repeat what I just said in Spanish?
Si estás interesado en escuchar la interpretación, por favor haz clic en el icono que está en la parte de abajo que parece como un mundo, un globo, y entonces selecciona el idioma en que quieres escuchar el audio.
Thank you, Carlos. Chenling, can you repeat what I just said in Chinese Mandarin, please?
谢谢你今天过来参加我们这个会议。然后，如果你需要用中文解释的话呢，您可以在右下角压中文，然后会有翻译。谢谢。
Thank you, Chenling. And lastly, Kiana, can you repeat what I just said in Cape Verdean, please?
Alô, boa tarde. Sim, eu estou interessado na ouvir interpretação e sonhos calcar lá debaixo da coisa que é o mundo, calcar naquela e poder entrar na tipo de interpretação que começa.
Thank you, Kiana. All right, the last just a note for everyone on is that we will be recording, as you saw, and it is open to the media as well, just for everyone's awareness. All right, so we're now going to introduce the City Hall team, and I see Councillor Flynn is on here tonight, and he's got his hand up. Councillor, we're going to just ask you to wait to comment until the presentation is over, but I can take you then, obviously. And we also have staff from Councillor Zirkin and Weber on as well. Let's see. So I'm going to take just one moment to introduce a few of my colleagues who are with us today. John Elric, do you want to just come off mute and introduce yourself?
Good evening, John Elric. I'm the Assistant Commissioner of Environmental Services at ISD Enforcement Division. We handle the rats. I have been with the city for 22 years, with the department for 10, and running the division for 4.
Thank you, John. And Assistant Commissioner of ISD's Environmental Division is another way of saying he's a rat expert. Tania Del Rio, Commissioner, can you unmute and introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, Mohammed, and thank you, John. Tania Del Rio. I'm the Commissioner at Inspectional Services. Very, very excited to be one partner department in the Boston Rodent Action Plan, and obviously under John's expertise and the team's leadership, very happy to be here, listen in on the concerns, and then share with you on what's been going on for the last year and what's coming for the Boston Rodent Action Plan. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Dennis?
Dennis Roach, Superintendent of Waste Reduction in Boston Public Works. Been with the city for 22 years myself in varying roles, but I've been in waste reduction for the last 6.
Thank you, Dennis. Avantika?
Avantika Mathur, I work with the waste reduction team as the Director of Waste Policy and Planning. I joined in this role about a year or so back, and excited to interact with the community.
Thank you. Luke?
Hi, everyone. My name is Luke Hines. I work in the Operations Cabinet as a Special Projects Manager, helping to lead various initiatives, including the Boston Rodent Action Plan.
Thank you, Luke. And lastly, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Dion Irish, who's also just going to share a little bit about just, high level about the Boston Rodent Action Plan and why we're here today as well.
Thanks, Mohammed. Good evening, everyone. It's great to see such a great turnout on a lovely Tuesday evening. As Mohammed mentioned, I'm Dion Irish, Chief of Operations. This July I made 30 years with the city. So I've had extensive background beginning with ISD in '95, working on rodent control, public health issues. And we're blessed to have, I think, one of the best rodent control teams in the country under John's Environmental Services Division. Folks may not know, but that group actually grew out of the Big Dig and was maintained and enhanced. And I think we're one of the few cities that actually has a team of folks who are dealing on this issue alone. And they're not just inspectors writing violations. they're also licensed pest control applicators. So we have a team that actually treats public spaces as well as inspects and also educates as a part of our work. But I think far too long, we have sort of focused the burden on rats on like one agency. So I'm very happy that under Mayor Wood's leadership, that we're seeing this now as more than just an inspection or enforcement issue, or an issue where we think that we can poison our way out of it. It's certainly not that. Something that we also need to be proactive about and be smarter about, and also benefit from the input. So it's great to see this turnout. And that's exactly what the Boston Rodent Action Plan is. It's a collaboration across agencies. It's proactive. We're talking about agencies like the Boston Housing Authority, Water and Sewer Commission, the Parks Department, obviously Public Works, Code Enforcement. The list, I could talk for another minute or so on the different agencies that are involved, even our planning agencies, our public facilities department. So we're incorporating this, our IT department. It's truly a very collaborative cross government effort, and the team will certainly speak more about that. But tonight we're here just to share some of the work that has been done, but more importantly, just to really interact and give feedback and comments from you all. So thanks again for everyone's participation here tonight, and I want to turn it back over to Mohammed.
Thank you, Dion. All right, so before we go over today's agenda, I'm just going to review a few guidelines for our discussion. First and foremost, just maintaining respect for others in the space. We want to hear from all of you, genuinely, or anyone who obviously wants to share their thoughts. So we ask you to limit your comments to 2 minutes. And then if you represent a neighborhood association or group or any civic group, please just, you feel free to share that with us as well, when you raise your hand. The chat is disabled for now, only so that we can focus on the presentation. But as soon as we start the public feedback session, we're obviously going to enable it in case anyone would prefer writing your comments or asking your question in the chat versus raising your hand. So with that, Luke, do you want to go over to the agenda? Thank you. So we've done our welcomes. We're going to talk about today, obviously the team is going to do a brief presentation about the Boston Rodent Action Plan and what that entails. You already heard a little bit at high level from Chief Irish. We're going to talk about some resident best practices that the team recommends. But most importantly today is about feedback and discussion. I think a big thing for us and for the mayor is to make sure that of all the work, we're going to give you an update about all the different initiatives that we're working on right now when it comes to rodent control. But we really want to hear from you and your experience specifically as civic leaders, as residents, what you're seeing, and if there's anything specific that that you've noticed that can be helpful for us as well and inform the work. And then we can talk about next steps. So with that, and during the discussion later, our team will be taking notes, and you'll actually be able to see it as they do it. And then we can talk about next steps towards the end. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Luke and John, who are obviously spearheading the coordination here, the coordinated effort.
Awesome. Thanks, Mohammed. And thank you all again for being here tonight. As I mentioned previously, my name is Luke Hines, and I work in the mayor's office as a special project manager, helping to guide the Boston Rodent Action Plan alongside some of my colleagues here tonight. As Chief Irish mentioned, over 2 years ago, the city partnered with Dr. Bobby Corrigan, one of the world's leading experts on rodent control, to produce a comprehensive report on some of the challenges that Boston faces in terms of rats. And so some of the recommendations that emerged from Dr. Corrigan's report, known as the Boston Rodent Action Plan, call for us to establish a citywide group of leadership from various departments, use data to guide our different rodent intervention strategies and investments, deploy different technology to monitor and to control rodent populations, and to try to make meaningful improvements to our trash collection process. And so we're here tonight to try to make good on some of those recommendations and to share some of the updates on the work that our team has been doing over the last 2 years. And since the report has published, the city's been working to implement many of these different recommendations, and we'll get into detail on those on slides to come. But as Chief Irish mentioned at the beginning, the ultimate focus of the Boston Rodent Action Plan is to measurably reduce rodent populations in the city and try to improve the quality of life for all residents. We're doing that using a couple of key focus areas. So first, under John and his team's leadership, we're focused on rodent mitigation and enforcement. John will explain this more, but his team does a lot of different mitigation strategies across the city, responding to 311 calls. We also are focused on trash collection improvements, which we're here tonight to gather feedback on. That's being led by Dennis and his team. We're also trying to do a lot of community awareness and education to tell residents how their behavior and habits can also lead to reducing rodent populations within the city. And we're engaging with different external stakeholders and other organizations, collaborating with our counterparts in New York, Toronto, other cities to learn and gather research on how we can continue to improve and deploy different technologies to mitigate rats. But with that, I want to pass it over to John, who's going to dive a little bit deeper on some of the work that is currently underway in the city.
Thanks, Luke. John Ulrich again, Boston Inspectional Services, Environmental Services, and I lead a team of 14 inspectors that deal with rats across the city. We have our main workflow is responding to 311 complaints. Our inspectors are all licensed pest control operators, and we do pest control on city property, public parks, public ways, and public sewers. That being said, the mayor recognized that we needed a coordinated response, and it wasn't just about rodent mitigation. And so the mayor launched the Boston Rodent Action Plan last June, about a year and a couple of months ago. And we worked with Dr. Corrigan, who really is the leading expert on rats in the country, to identify the problem. So Dr. Corrigan came to the city, met with multiple departments, did an assessment of our operations, and then published a report. And that report is now public, and it's the Boston Rodent Action Plan. He made recommendations and guidance in that report. One of those was the cross-department coordination. And so we created the Boston Rodent Action Plan Working Group, and that is representatives of many departments. I don't have the number, but it's almost every department. Rats touch all the departments in the city. It's a quality of life issue, and it really touches all departments. So we coordinated this group. We meet every other month. For the first year, we met every month. The other recommendation was that we use technology to measure rodent population and some of the work that we're doing and the effects it has on rodent population. So we acquired 275 rodent sensors, and those sensors are deployed across the city in parks and public housing. And those sensors will measure some of the interventions that we're doing. We want to make sure that when we do something, we know what kind of impact it's having. When we have a successful pilot, we want to have that information so we can scale and make recommendations. Sanitation is the key to rodents. Trash and sanitation is the main driver of rodent activity. So sanitation and reform is key. So we're focusing on containerization in parks. We had some new barrels in parks. We have new barrels on the streets. Really focusing on food source. Food is the main driver of rodent activity. In the city, trash is the main food source. A policy, we're reviewing options for long-term trash changes, and that's what we're here tonight to listen to recommendations and feedback so that we can make recommendations moving forward on trash and trash operations. Public engagement, we do a lot of it. I would say my department is one of the most publicly engaged departments. We do 100 walkthroughs a year where we go out into the community and meet folks where they are and allow folks to point to what the issues are. We do enforcement and education, but on top of that, we're looking to do neighborhood-specific outreach. We're creating marketing campaigns, working on a public dashboard. So all the work that we're doing, you can see updated constantly. The sensor deployment, like I said, very important. Rodents, it's very difficult. It has been in the past to get good measurement on rodent population. We use gauges like 311. Complaints is the main, but we know that complaints don't necessarily reflect the exact rodent activity. So sensors were a big recommendation in the report. We purchased 275 sensors. We've deployed them across parks and public housing sites. And currently, we're at the baseline data. We're collecting baseline data to understand where the population is right now. Then we will deploy targeted interventions, whether it's with trash or mitigation, new technologies like saw traps, compactors, containerization of trash, level of service of trash, things like that. And then we're measuring how that impacts the rodent population. What we're hoping for is a decrease in activity so that we know that these things can be successful. We're working with the analytics department to evaluate all the data that we're collecting. A lot of data coming in. We'll collect the baseline data, do the intervention, and then make the evaluation on what that is telling us. Hotspot identification. We need to know where the activity is. And so we're hoping that the data will allow us to be efficient with our resources. The goal of the sensors is to run a true integrated pest management. One of the other recommendations of the report was to stop using second generation anticoagulant, but reduce our reliance on rodenticide. Sensors will allow us to be targeted in our mitigation efforts and allow us to do that. These are some of the pilots that we have already rolled out. So as I said, ISD has rolled out the sensor program in the parks and public housing. The Parks Department and Public Works has rolled out new litter baskets. Public facilities, I believe, also bought some new rodent-resistant barrels. These have shown to be working in our parks. Although we don't have the data yet, we have seen, based on inspections and what they're seeing in the field, that just the reduction of food and access to food has reduced rodent activity in the parks. Frontage Road, we're working on finding new ways to store our trash and transport our trash, transfer our trash from trucks to trucks. BHA, finding new ways to manage waste in densely populated low-income housing. So important. We're dealing with rodent activity in these areas. We're going to measure it, but really finding creative ways to store trash. And then the Boston Water and Sewer has a really great pilot with saw traps. We have 21 traps in the North End deployed throughout the neighborhood. And in 2 weeks, we will be deploying a different kind of smart trap in the Back Bay alleys. The community engagement, our goals is to introduce the BRAP, highlight the role of the behavior in rodent control, and get the community's input on trash collection, which is really what we want to hear from folks around what are the challenges with trash storage and trash collection. The engagement structure, mix of community meetings with broader feedback, of focus groups for in-depth feedback. The meetings will be a combination of in-person and virtual, smaller focus groups, larger community meetings. The tentative timeline right now is July 22nd for the kickoff meeting, which we already did, focus group. Tonight, we're having the community meeting, the BRAP and containerization. The end product will be to evaluate ideas based on cost, feasibility, and operational impact. Release the report to the public of what we find, and implement the recommendations in the incoming trash contract. And I will turn it now back over to Luke.
It's me, John. Again,
Oh, sorry.
Dennis Roach, Superintendent of Waste Reduction for the City of Boston. Just want to reiterate what John said, that we are here to hear the ideas of residents around trash practices and containerization. We have a real opportunity over the next 2 years. We have trash contracts that run through June 30th, 2026. We are beginning to work on the next round of trash contracts currently. Usually bid those out about a year and a half in anticipation of the start. So this is a real opportunity to fix some of our trash practices in the city, to make them less rodent friendly, and look with an eye towards more potential containerization around the city, where basically we're not providing rat buffets on our streets on every trash day as we collect residential trash. This particular site here, why are there rats? It's basically what John said, is where there's a food source, there'll be rats. And we understand that the city of Boston, with not enforcing mandatory containerization citywide, allows for a rat buffet every single day on the streets of every single trash day on the streets of Boston, when bags are displaced with just in garbage bags and not fully containerized on our streets. So we really want to hear residents' feedback on containerization and what they see on their trash day and what they think may be impactful on trash days, to limit the amount of food that is on the curbside on particular trash days. Next slide. Boston is basically an old city. We got old city problems. We have a 150-year-old sewer system. We have very rat-friendly alleys and street corners and tight areas where trash is being stored, where it's being stored sometimes not containerized in bags. These tightly packed neighborhoods, large buildings, all storing trash, not always with very sealed dumpsters or sealed containers, basically offering a free buffet for rats throughout the night. And bins are not particularly required in Boston right now. We have a lot of challenges in certain neighborhoods with being able to collect bins, with tight parking, tight sidewalks, tight curbs. But we do want to look towards more containerization policy within the city of Boston, and we're here to get some feedback on that. Next slide. Top 5 reasons why rats like trash, right? Rats need to eat. Simply put, the food source becomes the source for rats. Whether that food source be in our trash bags, whether that be in pet waste that may not be properly disposed of on city streets. Rats need to build their home. They settle in areas where there are food scraps and they're easy material to find to eat and build homes. Rats love pet waste and trash. Love pet waste in parks. Anywhere there's pet waste, rats tend to set up shop and feed over the night. They have a keen sense of smell. They smell food in bags that are left on the curb, and they chew right through them, especially overnight. And they live for clutter. Messy yards, messy landscapes. We certainly have a team of code enforcement people out there trying to cut down on this, but that's where rats like to congregate and make their homes. What can Boston residents do about it? Basically, contain it. Put all trash into securely hidden bins with no gaps and no access for rats. Where you can, delay your set-out time if it's not in bins. The official set-out time for trash is after 5 p.m. the evening before collection, but placing trash out the morning of, as long as it's out by 6 a.m. when the trash trucks start, that is more ideal. The closer you can get to that 6 a.m. time, the less of the buffet there is out for the rats to eat on the streets overnight. Store all your trash properly. Ensure that no bags are overflowing from the bin and the bin lid is tightly shut. And always maintain your bin. Throw out broken bins and clean your bins regularly, especially from excess food waste that might rest at the bottom of the bin. and cut all rodent access to food sources. Make sure food is secured and locked in bins, such as curbside bin, our Project Oscar bins, which are around many neighborhoods that store food waste. You can separate and put in Project Oscar bins. And the city of Boston also runs a curbside food waste program, which is an excellent way to containerize your food waste and get it picked up on trash day. So in short, however residents can help in limiting the access to food on the street through containerization is a focus that this BRAP committee is looking to take. We're looking into more containerization policy, more methods of containerization, but we are here to hear the ideas of residents and how residents feel about what they see on trash day, what they see in their streets with rats, and how they actually feel about containerization.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, everyone on the city side for presenting. Luke, if you can, enable the chat, please, so we can start the feedback session. As you heard, this is a really coordinated effort across the city, across all the, many departments. And that's because, like the mayor has said so many times, it's actually the first of its kind in the city, this kind of coordination. And it's because you've heard the mayor say it, the Boston is a home for all except for rats. So that's why we're all here. And I know I see a lot of familiar faces on here who have brought this up before to us, in different community meetings. So I'm going to start this feedback session with Councillor Flynn.
Thank you. Mohammed, I had my hand up at the beginning. Well, first of all, thank you for calling on me, but I had my hand up at the beginning for one reason, is the discussion was in Mandarin and not Cantonese. And most of my constituents in Chinatown, almost all of them, speak Cantonese and not Mandarin. That's a challenge for me. I wanted to make sure my constituents are heard in Chinatown.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
That's why I was raising my hand, but you chose not to call me, and I wasn't able to.
Oh, please.
I wasn't able. Excuse me. I wasn't able to put it in the chat either.
Okay, well, we would be happy as a team on the city side to have a meeting specifically in Chinatown to discuss it, with translation services that are in Cantonese as well at a later date to talk about all the initiatives and that are specifically to Chinatown. That's not a problem. Do you have any other comments, Councillor?
Yeah, the other point I wanted to make is I've been working on this issue for well over 8 years, and I highlighted a lot of these recommendations to the city, to Dr. Corrigan. A lot of them were implemented by the city administration. So I want to say thank you for doing that. But one that wasn't is a standalone city department on pest control. I think that's a critical aspect of this. I also have advocated for and have an ordinance waiting on having rat-proof barrels, composting throughout the city, changing the times to putting out our trash, comprehensive public awareness education campaign. So there was a lot of more inspectors, especially on the weekends. But I do want to make sure that I highlighted those points because they are important. Thank you, Mohammed.
All right, thank you, Councillor. Bob Barney, you're next. Bob, do you want to come off mute?
Oh. Did I lose you? Oh, shoot.
You're good. You're off mute, Bob.
Oh, sorry about that. I lost the screen for a minute. Hey, thanks so much for holding this meeting. Really appreciate it. I just had a couple of issues, and first of all, I have to comment. John Ulrich does come out. He does engage. He was incredibly helpful to the Cooper Community Center in Roxbury. So, John, thank you. It's helped us tremendously at that particular school. So, thanks so much. One of the things that I see, I'm not sure how to say this, but in the South End, Little Roxbury, there are streets like mine where trash is put in the front, containers can't be stored. So it's kind of a unique situation. So that's one I'm still trying to think through, but I don't know how that's handled because the private alley that behind my buildings isn't wide enough to take a truck. I think that's really the main reason. So I think there'll be probably a solution, maybe that doesn't fit all, but maybe there are a few little differences or nuances that could handle this situation. The thing I wanted to point out though, one was connecting with university and college kids, I think that in sort of the communication piece is really important, because I just don't think they maybe fully understand sort of, the trash programs. And to the best of our ability, we try to educate them within my neighborhood, but I think that's an issue. But the most important thing that I wanted to bring up was I saw you had BHA, Boston Housing Authority properties, which is great. But the other thing that I've seen is I live next to a lodging house, 19 units, so 19 high-end apartments, if you will, and people just don't either know the rules, they don't follow the rules, and they're putting it on the street, they're putting it on Mass Ave. I don't know what the solution is there, but I think there are large residential complexes that might need to have a little bit more of a nudge from an enforcement side, because I don't think, that's not me, I promise. I don't, okay. I don't know what the solution is there, but I think that's a unique thing that you'll find in the South End. I also think you'll find it in Roxbury, because I have a few friends in Mount Pleasant Vine Neighborhood Association that deal with the same thing. So it's sort of non-BHA, large residential lodging houses, and what's the, I guess, really kind of what's the penalty process for them for putting their trash out on the wrong days that feed the rats. Sorry, that was so long-winded.
No, you're good. You're good. Thank you, Bob. Thank you as always. All right. So I don't see any other hands raised, but I did see a question in the chat from Luke about how to raise hands. Luke, let me know if you figured it out. Is anyone else having problems raising their hands? Are you good? Okay. I see a ton of comments. Who else, has feedback? Mort, I see you. Patricia, I'm going to go to Mort. Just I saw his hand go up before yours, so go for it. But he did the manual one, and I can see it. Maria, you're after Patricia. Mort, go for it. Unmute yourself, please. All right, I'm going to go to Patricia, and then we can go back to Mort.
I got it. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. I'm sorry, could you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
thank you for doing sessions, and we live in Mission Hill, and for the probably last few months, we caught 20 rats in our yard, and one of the things that I was going to ask you is, I think that some of the rats around our neighborhood came from the constructions, and it would be good, when they get the permit, and they sort of make them obligated, if they are digging in, to basically have some kind of a plan for the rodent control around the construction site. And as far as our neighborhood goes, I know that everybody is basically obeying the health, the protocol, and everybody is putting their trash in the bin, and basically there is not much of a problem with that. But I think that mostly is I think start to breeding was from 2 or 3 construction sites that we had. That's all I can say.
Okay. Thank you, Mort. Patricia?
Yes. Good evening, everyone, and thank you again for having this meeting. I represent the Beacon Hill Civic Association. I also live in Beacon Hill, so I can really understand the specific problems here. And like parts of Back Bay, as Bob Barney mentioned, we have the challenge of not having space for trash bins. Very few homes on Beacon Hill have that kind of space, or could put a dirty trash bin, under their stairs or anything like that. So, we have asked, over the years for that pickup time to be changed to something later in the morning, so that 5 o'clock after 5 o'clock put out time is over, and people have to put their trash out in the morning. It would be ideal to have like a 9 a.m. Pickup so that people on their way to work would leave their trash out, and we're just contributing to the problem. Also, I noticed that when the trash is picked up, just walking to work today, there's such a mess of trash that makes it out of, bags that are pulled apart or whatever, and it sits there. And, I feel that we're lacking a sense of, and I mean, we, the general population, are lacking a sense of pride and responsibility in our neighborhood to clean up messes that are left behind. Doesn't matter who they come from. So I think that education is really important. We spend a lot of time letting our neighborhood know through our e-blast about how to put their trash out, when to put their trash out, how to compost. We've got a couple of food waste bins, which is great. And so it's just like a continuous, education campaign, but really to have people able to put trash out at 5 o'clock the night before is just, it's just a non-starter.
All right, thank you, Patty. And we're gonna go through obviously everyone who's raising their hand, and then towards the end, city staff will be able to answer some of the things that come up, just like some of the themes. So just wanted to let you all know. Barbara, if you press react, you will then see the raise your hand function, and then press that again. All right, Allie?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Great. I'm Allie Foley. I'm a neighborhood advocate over in Back Bay, closely abutting the Beacon Hill area. And I can't thank Beacon Hill Civic Association for hosting this. I was going to be requesting a similar forum soon for our area. So thank you, and thank you for the city for responding and accommodating. A couple of comments, a little bit of echo to Patricia Tully, pointedly noting that the early AM pickup time is just, I'm sorry, the early drop-off time of 5 p.m. the evening before is just like a non-starter. Putting your trash out at 5 p.m. and I have seen the trash collections go all the way until 3 p.m. the next day. That is a net 22-hour food buffet for the rats for many residents that don't have the ability to do containerization. So that's first and foremost. And second, I forgot to say that I do serve on the neighborhood board at Back Bay, but I'm only operating today on the call as an advocate, as a resident. So I do sit on the NAB, the Neighborhood Association of Back Bay Board. And lastly, I'd like to offer out to the community here. I only emailed John Ulrich today of a short pilot program that I just did in the Back Bay, where we actually did a Trash Talk Sunday series that many people who are on this call saw it on Nextdoor and were very interested about it. And we did an educational forum for 3 straight Sundays in Back Bay and had nearly 70 attendees come to talk to the table about litter, trash, rodents, mitigation, composting, all sorts of things, containerization. So I just want to put that out there, and folks will know how to get in touch with me, and I'm happy to share that program with people. It's a brand new program. It's a pilot here, but we had some good responses to it, and I just want to offer it up to the community or anybody in City Hall or Patricia and your team over there in Beacon Hill that want to, replicate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Allie. I appreciate it. All right, Joan?
Yeah, hi, thanks. I will try to be, obviously, in interest of time, just very quickly say there has to be more enforcement and responsibility for owners and landlords to educate, and not just educate, but they have to make sure that their tenants or their students or their short-term rentals, whatever, know what to do with their trash and somehow are held responsible for it. Now, that's a big, huge thing. The punishment that's offered for that right now is just not enough because it doesn't change any behavior. Number two, I really am so happy that you emphasized today the need to do it, have this be like an intra-agency as well as a multi-agency approach. Because I will say something we dealt with in our neighborhood is we do have a public housing building, 70 St. Patolph, and we had an issue and it was ongoing, and hopefully it won't start again. But where neighbors, residents just assumed because it was a housing building that they could just toss their trash willy-nilly anywhere near their dumpsters. But then what was happening is the BHA, the manager of the building, was getting tickets from the city because the trash behind the housing building was so bad, and it was not her fault. So, and we intervened as I'm sorry, I forgot to, I'm with the St. Patolph Neighborhood Association, so we tried to get involved and help. But you all need to speak with each other, so that we're all working to the same goal. And my last very quick comment will be this. We did our own little sort of pilot program here, unofficial, but we have a nice relationship with Northeastern University. They have a lot of students that live in our neighborhood, and they provided us at no charge. They donated big rolling bins to neighbors and buildings in our neighborhood that didn't have any, because oftentimes people will say, well, I'd love to use a bin, but I don't have one. I don't have a car to go get one. So as a neighborhood association, we find ways to get them. And so not only intra-agency and multi-agency coordination, but the more institutions in the city that we can get along to buy in and some sort of a public-private buy-in, whereas maybe they'll donate the bins. So those are just my 3 comments. So, and thanks for having this, and I'm really glad we continue to talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Joan. And I think for us to, in addition to what you shared, obviously we want to collaborate, even more closely with our civics to help us, especially around the education piece. I think in the future, that's like a big one for us, to utilize every single, everyone who has a platform and an audience. Allison Anderson.
Hello, everybody. I'm Allison Anderson. I'm a civic engagement coordinator in the Roxbury area. Thank you for hosting this space. A lot of our residents and community members have been making sure that they've stayed engaged in this conversation because it directly has impacted them. But I was curious, I dropped it in the chat as well. But I dropped some questions in the chat as well, but I wanted to ask, I know many groups participated in the first cycle of their action. And the second cycle just ended. So I was curious about, since it being one of the top 5 ideas being voting control, was there any plan on engaging any of the community groups or spaces that were a part of that process that expressed that as a concern, especially as y'all are currently doing a lot of city cross-departmental collaboration? How has the community stayed engaged in this process, or how can they continue to stay engaged outside of the tips that you all provided?
Thank you, Allison. We can, like I said, the team can answer some of these questions later when there's themes. So I'll just hold off on the first piece of the pilots. But in terms of community input, like we shared in the very beginning, this is the second part. We had like a focus group that we started, and we had representatives from every single neighborhood who joined us for that. And then this is just like the second one in which we're seeking community input, and we're going to continue going out to anyone who wants to speak with us and wants to give input, whether it's a civic group or any other kind of neighborhood group. So this is just the very beginning. So that's how we're seeking input. Luke?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Great. Again, thank you for hosting this. Appreciate the forum. So I'm a resident in the North End for the past 7 years. I think, as Dennis mentioned, exposed garbage on the streets, right? Lack of containerization is clearly the issue. This is twice weekly in our neighborhood. Things like food waste, pet waste, empty alcohol, even used condoms that we walk over twice a week, right? Every week. So I'm curious from Dennis what the feasibility is of putting in containers in the North End, given the infrastructure, it's super small. And if not, I think the idea for, especially in the Ward 3 areas where that's not possible, adjusting the pickup times would be a good solution. So put it out the morning before work, and maybe the collectors come in a condensed period of time, because the day before, people are going to put it out at 5 p.m. People are going to put it out before, leaving 22 hours or whatever the time frame is for the trash to sit out there. It's never going to be a solution. So I'm curious, one, if there's a read on whether or not containers can be implemented in this neighborhood, and if two, how feasible it would be to adjust the trash pickup times to be a shorter window in the morning. So put out in the morning and then collect shortly thereafter. So again, thanks for the forum.
Thank you, Luke. I appreciate it. And Dennis will be able to answer at least one of those questions, I think, later on. So, and I see that Councillor Durkin has joined us as well. Welcome, Councillor. Maria, you're next. Maria, you're muted. I apologize. If you can unmute yourself.
Okay. Hola, mucho gusto. Soy María de Los Ángeles Bisuet, soy escritora. Tengo un libro publicado que se llama Vecinos Invisibles. Y estoy muy interesada en poder hacer algún apoyo a toda esta situación. Quiero decirles que trabajé 10 años en una compañía de insecticidas y fertilizantes, y para su conocimiento, estoy oyendo que todo está en relación a la basura, y eso es un error. Las ratas pueden durar hasta 2 semanas o un mes aproximadamente sin comer. Las ratas tienen la fuerza para levantar la tapa de los botes, y hay unos asegurados, un seguro que se le pone a los botes para que no las puedan abrir. Otra cosa que es más importante que recoger la rata es que en las familias o casas, hogares o negocios que tienen ratas, el aspirar la orina o los excrementos se secan y se evaporan. Y entonces eso es lo que hace la contaminación. El hantavirus va directamente a una infección pulmonar o renal. Entonces, donde hay que hacer toda la actividad está en educación, principalmente en los hogares, porque las mascotas, los niños, se pueden infectar. Quiero decirles que una característica de las ratas es que al caminar van goteando orina. Y entonces, aunque le van con la basura, si a la hora de levantarle hay un orín de rata, ya se contaminaron. En mi libro explico todas las medidas de seguridad y protección que se tienen que hacer para la limpieza. Entonces, yo estoy en toda posibilidad de poder cooperar.
All right, thank you, Maria. Barbara? Barbara Zach?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you so much for hearing me. I live in the South End, and I echo what everyone has said already about the night before pickups, and that encourages rats, seagulls. People constantly are going through the trash. So even when the trash pickup is done, there's holes in the trash, and trash is all over the place. So it just really makes our neighborhood really, really looks disgusting, honestly. Also, because if you're on a street that has trash pickup on it, everyone is starting to have burrows. So all, like myself, our condo association, our neighbors, we're incurring costs of having a rat service. We have 5 rat traps around our place, just our condo. We only have 3 units in it because of all the burrows, because of the city, the way the city trash is picked up. So you're adding cost onto the residents because of this. I echo the idea of higher fines for dumpsters not being picked up, like managed correctly, and trash. containerization, also more trash receptacles. Like, again, I live on Tremont and there's a lot of activity, a lot of restaurants there. And there's a few of the newer trash bins, but most of them are these older things that are broken, that are like the old solar belly trash bins with advertising on them. And they don't work very well. They're smelly. So if we could get more trash bins, I think that's like something that could be done that would actually be helpful, as more as any dog poop bags to help with the dog poop, because the rats like that too as well. Um, I think the Oscar program is awesome, and garbage to garden program is really, really good, and extending that as well as adding more Oscar trash bins would be helpful. And then my one last suggestion is, I'm one of those people that I don't put my trash out to the morning of, and I get up and then I go around the area and I pick up all the trash all over the place. But if anyone has watched the people that are actually disposing of the trash, they're throwing it often onto a island or two on a bus pickup stand. So then it's broken already because of the rats or the scavengers that have opened it. And then they throw it into the garbage truck. So then there's even more trash around. So I think it'd be great to have someone do a walkthrough one morning and see how the trash is actually picked up, because I think it'll be eye-opening. I'm one of those people that are up there, up at 6 a.m., so I see it all the time. So thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. I appreciate that. Gabby's or the last person who's got her hand raised.
Hi, how are you guys? I just heard a lot of the complaints, and my mother was actually speaking in Spanish, so I'm here to leave a little message with her. She wrote a book about rats and the behavior. It's actually a book that is for children and to help educate them at school, but it not only tells the story about rats, but also it has recipes of how to deal with the trash, how to store it. So it has repellent and it has different other things that you can actually do at home. We are talking already with Tanya's team, and I just wanted to give you also another tool that we have developed, because I live in Rosendale, so we see rats all the time, and it's a lamp that actually it's moldable, and you can find the urine of the rats, because finding the urine of the rats brings you to the nests. And once you tackle the nest, it helps you, find where these rodents are and mitigate, all these challenges. But at the end of the day, what we want to do is be part of the solution. We have these books available in different languages, and the idea is to go and help you guys and support the community by giving them the resources and the tools so we can tackle this together. And it's an effort that is got to be with everybody, not just the trash. I think it's an overall problem that we have.
Okay. Thank you. That's really helpful. And it's wonderful that Maria, that you wrote a book. I love that. Gabby, if you can translate, that would be wonderful. Actually, we have a translator, so I'm sure she can hear me. So someone asked if we're recording all these messages. Yes, we're recording all of them. We're downloading all the messages. We will review them, and we will post them and also try to share with you the answers after we review them. But it is a lot, and so I just don't want to, I don't think we can get to all of them today. So it's better for us to just record them and get back to people in writing. And we do have your emails because you registered for the meeting. All right, Karen Mapp.
Hey. Hi. I have a couple questions. I've heard a lot about prevention with the trash, but what happens when you actually start to see them? I put this in the chat. So Gabby said, tackle the nest. How do you tackle the nest? I don't know how to do that. I don't know what to do. And I did mention in the chat, I had a situation today where someone had put a lot of nasty garbage in my recycle bin. I put it in a bag, tied it up, and I called 311 to ask them if it could be picked up, and they told me no. And so, like in situations like that, I was hoping that it could be picked up because it's very smelly. Even if I put it in a bin, it's going to stink to high heaven. And so I was wondering, when that sort of thing happens, what do we do? Is it possible to get someone to come and get it, or? But my main question is, what do we do when we start to see the rats? How do we quote tackle them once they're actually? I have a group, I think, that's living in my hostas in front of my home. They come in and out, and I don't know how to get them out of there.
Okay. I will figure out, we will figure out if anyone on the call from the city side can help answer that question. So now that I don't see any more hands raised, thank you, Karen, for all that, and thank you everyone for the feedback so far. Dennis, I'm going to turn it over to you if you want to just react to what Luke shared about the North End being some of the North End comments that he shared, and also about the construction. I think the question we had from Mort earlier.
So the city is looking at all trash models that they're on for the next round of contracts. We certainly recognize the problem with putting trash out overnight, starting at 5 p.m. and having it sit there overnight. So we are looking at potentially later start collection times. It does have other impacts. Trash trucks run for 8-9 hours a day. So every time you start a little later in one neighborhood, you're collecting a little later in another neighborhood. So there are a lot of things that we have to kind of work out. But the city is looking at all those models, going through an assessment. We've hired a consultant that's been helping us guide us through this process. And we are looking at containerization models, whether that be, personal containers for houses, which we know in some neighborhoods they're not possible. We're looking at community collection models, which we haven't quite seen too many models nationally that have come with a lot of success. New York has rolled out a program to varying levels of success that hasn't really worked so well, but we are looking at them all, and we're looking at all these particular solutions especially for neighborhoods, high dense neighborhoods that have a tough time containerizing their trash.
Thank you, Dennis. John, did you want to talk about, I think someone asked about construction earlier.
Yeah, so ISD, we do have a community sanitation requirement, it's called. And so if you are doing any kind of construction that would affect rodent population or disturb rodent population, that's excavation, that's demo of a building, you are required to have a community sanitation sign off. So you're not able to receive your permits until you produce a pest control report saying that there's no activity on the property. The property has been inspected by a licensed pest control tech, and that there's monitoring stations placed around the perimeter of the lot. If you see a construction site that you're concerned about with rodent activity in Mission Hill or any neighborhood, you should call 311. The best way to communicate with my team is to report it to 311. That report will go directly to the area inspector, and we respond within 24 to 48 hours.
Thank you, John. Andrea, I'm looking at your question that you've called 311, and I'm not. It's not specific enough for us, I think, to be able to answer it. So if you want to add some more details, that would be great. Let's see. Someone asked questions about how to get engaged, how to be engaged. Luke, do you want to talk about that? Luke Hines, not Luke, but how?
Yeah, thanks, Mohammed. So yeah, I think there was a couple of different questions on how folks can stay engaged with this process. The BRAP team, as John mentioned, does neighborhood specific walkthroughs. So if you have rodent activities in your neighborhoods or specific challenges, please reach out to your ONS community liaison, and they will set up a community walkthrough with John and myself and other departments that would be able to come out and help guide and provide some feedback. Similarly, as John mentioned, the best way to get in touch with our team, if you see rats or you have rodent challenges, is to report them to 311. John and his team of 14 inspectors have a response rate of 24 to 48 hours. So once you document seeing rodent activity, his team will respond rapidly. And I just wanted to also plug in our website, which we could put in the chat. We're creating a dedicated email that will go directly to myself and John, which will be another avenue for folks to stay engaged. But please visit boston.gov/rats. We'll be posting new information about upcoming community meetings, different community materials based on how residents can also educate their fellow neighbors and residents. And we will also be giving some more details on the pilots and work that is underway in terms of the Boston Rodent Action Plan.
Thank you, Luke. See, Patricia raised her hand again. So Patricia, I'm going to go to you as the last commenter. Then Dennis is going to just share a few comments on code enforcement, and then we'll wrap. Thank you. Patricia, go for it.
Yes, thank you. Although I think that Gabby had her hand up before me, but anyway.
I think you just kept it up from
Oh,
earlier.
okay, all right. But quickly, another unique situation we have on Beacon Hill is that almost every street on Beacon Hill is being dug up for some utility work, right? Either gas or water. What effect does that have on this? John, actually, do those contractors have to have, some kind of plan in place? I have to believe that, digging out to put in a new gas line and then, branching off to everyone's services, that's going to be disturbing a lot of rats as well. Can anything be done alongside those projects?
John, do you want to answer that question, and then we'll go to
Yeah,
Dennis?
so the main utility that we work with on road mitigation is Boston Water and Sewer. So anytime they replace or repair a sewer or dig up the street, they're required to do pest control. We do a risk assessment for Boston Water and Sewer, and that determines what kind of level of pest control they need. For the utilities, that is a thing that we are looking at in year 2. To work with utilities. Currently, there isn't a requirement for the gas company to do rodent mitigation, but that's something that we're looking at to work with the gas company and other utilities to talk about rodent mitigation.
Thank you.
All right, Dennis, if you want to talk about code enforcement, and then we'll wrap.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I just want to reiterate John's point that we are very responsive to 311, and we have code enforcement teams in the streets almost 24/7 in our operation. We do respond to 311 cases. If you do see trash situations out, especially commercial trash being overflowing, mishandled, please report to 311, and we usually have a code enforcement officer inspecting it within about 12 hours of every case that comes in. So please utilize that tool, and we're happy to enforce trash violations citywide as well.
All right, thanks, Dennis. And Hillary, it's obviously a work in progress, and we'll continue to get better on it. And part of that is to, again, have this. The reason we're coordinating with multiple agencies across the city is so that we can, continue to improve this until it no longer is an issue, or an issue that is no longer bothersome. So with that, I think, Luke, your question was about timeline for implementation. If anyone from the city can answer that question, please raise your hand or just come off mute and say so. But if not, yeah, sorry, go on, Luke.
Yeah, I would just say, Luke, to answer your question, right now we're in the process of collecting a lot of feedback. So as Mohammed mentioned, we've had a focus group session and this community session. Our plan is to continue to engage residents to kind of collect feedback, and then we'll be doing some evaluation of that feedback. So no specific timeline in terms of implementation, but we'll definitely be sharing updates on when the next opportunity for folks to share their feedback with the city will be via email.
Thank you, Luke Hines, and thank you, Luke Batawi. I hope I'm saying your last name right, for the comments and for the last question there. All right, so just gonna wrap it up by saying thank you again, everyone, for all your feedback. Because we have your emails, because you registered, we will email you a summary of the meeting when we have all the answers. All the questions answered as well. We'll include the link to Luke put it in the chat already, but you'll see it in the email as well. And you'll have all our contact info. If you want John or someone else to do, a walk with you, we're available. Like the key thing here for us is we've got a lot of experts working on this. We've got multiple agencies, coordinating and meeting every month to work on this. But residents who live in neighborhoods and see certain things that, we may not see, that input is extremely valuable. And so please don't be shy about reaching out and getting us, out as a team to learn more, to do walks, and to have further conversations. So thank you all for joining us on this evening. And Luke, are you good downloading the chat? Am I all set?
You're all set. Thank you, everybody.
All right, cool. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.